No idea where this recording ends up. Oh, it's doing a little transcript thing.
That's why you have an IT department.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Gary, welcome to my channel, and welcome back if you've been here before. Now, after all the excitement of the range launch for Airfix on Tuesday, I managed to catch up with Dale Luckhurst, the head of brand, and with Luke Slaney-Hewitt, the researcher at Airfix, to have a quick chat about the range for 2023 and how they came to their conclusions, what they've included, what they've not included, and various other things. Now, first of all, I must apologise for the quality of the video that was produced by Microsoft Teams. I've edited it to look as good as I can and sound as good as I can, but I think you'll get the gist of what they've got to say anyway. Now, if you do like the video, and I hope you do, please remember, give it the imperial thumbs up on the like button below. And if you haven't done so yet, do please subscribe to the channel, hit the bell to be notified of more videos as they're released. Anyway, let's get on and see what Dale and Luke have got to say for themselves.
Guys, thank you both very, very much for joining me today and for agreeing to this. I know you're going to be a little busy. You very much, Dale, with the new launch, and you, Luke, with the next 2 or 3 or 4 years of launches, which have yet to be agreed upon. How do you think it went yesterday?
Well, yeah, we think it went really well. How do you think it went?
Very slick, very smart. The system didn't crash. That's always a bonus. Everything went live when it should go live, and all the information was there. So yeah, it seems like most people I've spoken to fall into one or two camps. Either they say, wow, what a great year, another great year, thank you, Airfix. Or they say, you know what, compared with last year, it's a little thin. I've totted up the number of new tools and and to be fair, it's pretty much similar to last year, I think. I don't know what you feel about that.
Yeah, so it's always an odd one. So our planning is done in financial years, April to March, and obviously we have to then split that down into calendar year, which is not difficult, you know. And our project timeframes are all different. So this time last year we had test shots of the Spitfire, we had test shots of the Buccaneer that we could display. Pretty much everything we had test shots for. I wasn't running around using stereos. We don't have that this year, actually, or not in the same. We've got test shots of all the cars, the 41st scale cars built. The Gannet, we've only got a stereo for. The test shots only come in last week, or this week, whenever it was, last week. Yeah. So I haven't even built one of those. Poundit hasn't even.
Building it as we speak.
We got some test shots for a few other bits. So it's sort of the phasing of stuff is always different every year. So it feels this time last year feels like we were more advanced with the stuff that we'd announced, and I guess in some ways we were. The resource hasn't changed that we have in the team. In fact, it has increased with Ethan, and what you're seeing now is Ethan's products coming through. But then you don't know what the guys are working on now, or the latter part of last year that, of course, you still won't know about for another year or so. So, you know, if we're working on another big project, that's already happened. You know, that's all happening for some time. But yeah, it seems to have gone down. You can't please everyone, sadly. You know, I know there's a lot of people have said about the lack of 72nd scale stuff, and we get that. But you know, years past, there's been a lot of 72nd scale and not much of anything else. And you know, overall, I hope that it all sort of just balances out. But so yeah, that's this year that unfortunately we can't please those guys. But
I guess you've got to look on it and more of a, rather than year by year, you've got to be looking at a sort of a 3-year or a 5-year sort of plan. So, you know, naturally some things, like you start off your plan there are going to be some big ticket items that come right around the same sort of time, like maybe like last year with the Spitfire, the Buccaneer, and the Anson, all coming in one go. Then you've got your Tempest and your Meteor came out as well, and you've got all the second and the third year releases to keep going. All of that seems to come in one go. It kind of feels like last year was so intense that this year is a bit more, right, let's have a breather. Let's keep some product coming, but let's like just calm down a bit, if you like. You know, maybe not that it necessarily felt that last year was a struggle to deliver all of those things, because I know you did and you're very proud of that. But there was an awful lot last year.
I'd say we never take the foot off the gas pedal. So, you know, it won't be like, oh, Ethan, don't worry, go slower on that project because we don't want to do as much this year. So, you know, the guys have been as flat out as they were last year, and it goes for all the backroom staff as well, myself, the people do instructions. We're sort of working almost at capacity all year round, every year. Yeah. So, as Dale says, it's a bit of a phasing thing, whereby we had a lot of stuff ready early on last year in terms of first shots and stuff. But that's no way to say that we've sort of pulled back a bit and gone, no, we'll have an easy one.
So what you're saying is next year is going to be manic again. Next year you're going to just inundate us with all sorts of wonderful new kits, because that part of the cycle will have come back again. That's brilliant.
Well, it depends. Of course, it's all dependent on the. I'm just going to say design time of a particular project. Yeah. Of course, you've got the research time to bolt on to the front of that. You've got the decision making time. You've got then the instruction time and artwork and everything else. So there's loads of all this sort of bolt on time, if you like. But I guess that all hinges around actual product design time, and every project is different. You know, you can't say you can't categorize a bunch of stuff to say that will take 2 weeks. That will only ever take 2 weeks, because sometimes it does. Sometimes it's an extra 2 weeks on top of that. You know, it's really difficult. So what I would say is that, you know, there are projects that we're working on that are taking us a little bit longer because they are larger projects. If you look at the part count for the Gannet that we've just announced, it is nearly a 124 scale part count. 124 scale kit part count. I dare say, not that I've looked at this, but our old vintage classic 124 scale kits have less parts in them than our 48 scale Gannet.
Sure.
So just because it's 48 scale doesn't mean that it's not high complexity, and we have to sort of try and consider all of that. We never planned for last year, 2022, to have all of those releases at the back end.
Right.
You know, there was a lot of re-releases that happened around the same time. I think it was about 8 products in about a 6-week period. You know, containers get blocked up, so you know we're filling containers up at our suppliers in India, and you know they're filling their car park up full of containers full of Airfix products. All of a sudden, space becomes available on a ship, and we can fit 8 containers on it, for example. Then 8 containers land in the UK at the same time with all this product. You know, that's not how we planned it at the beginning of the year. But equally, I don't want to then sit on a container in the UK or India and say, no, we won't have that just yet, because we've got orders for it all. So the Spitfire, of course, there was delays to the Spitfire in most areas, and then it coming to the UK. You know, set up in the UK is a bit different to if the tooling had gone to India. And by the time that had sort of happened, then the Buccaneer had been out for a month or so. The Anson had been out for not as long. So, you know, it all ended up just being bunched up. You won't see that this year. But then it's only the 11th of Jan. So
So if you can quickly just sort of go through the new tools and the re-releases for the year. Obviously the big ticket items, the Gannet, which the CAD renders look just phenomenal, I have to say. It's something I know a lot of people have been badgering you about for a long time to get a Gannet. It seems to me that you've got quite the Fleet Air Arm thing going. So that's always good news for people like me who love Fleet Air Arm aircraft. It's also something that strikes me that could go for quite a few year 2, year 3 releases with some amount of modification, like the airborne early warning versions and things like that, in the future. Is that where you think this might go?
I'll say we won't do the AEW version. So I'm pretty safe in saying that it's not possible from the AS kit.
Okay.
What it is, if you replace the fuselage, the wings, and all the other structure,
it's not very much then.
No. So it is a new kit, essentially, if you do the AEW. So I actually scanned an AEW when I was researching the AS, just out of curiosity. And the wing geometry is slightly different. There's different wing fold mechanisms that go on, or the positioning of the mechanisms are definitely different. The fuselage is a different shape because of the rear cabin and the way obviously the cockpit works rather than the free cockpits. So yeah, no AEW. I can guarantee that. Not from this tooling anyway. So.
But you've got the option for like the German ones, for example, and things like that.
You can definitely see that there's room in the tooling for other things. So there's the Germans flew them, the Indonesians and the Aussies flew them. So there's plenty of export potential, shall we say? And obviously there was its sort of ancillary roles after anti-sub, so ECM and COD duties. So yeah, there's plenty of legs in the tooling.
Do you think anyone's actually going to make it with the wings out? Given that you've given them that absolutely iconic Z fold, because
I know it's not
like you're talking about part counts. That's got to have taken a lot of parts.
Well, yeah. So the wings out option is essentially 4 main parts because you've got a lower and upper on both sides. And I asked this question earlier as well, whether they sort of share any commonality. No, it's like a whole different set of parts to do the folded wings. So you have, obviously, when the wing folds, it's 3 main sections. And obviously, we break those into 2, upper and lower each time. Sure. So you end up with 12 main parts per, if you do a folded wing set, and all the smaller parts that go alongside it. So, I don't know. We've been building it with 1 wing folded, 1 wing down when testing fits. Obviously, it means that you don't have to build 2 models. And it does look very impressive. It shows off the best of both worlds, but the system in the Gannet wouldn't allow you to only fold 1 wing. So it's not technically correct. But we'll
so
anyway.
just buy 2 kits then, basically.
Yes, buy 2 for multiples of 2, whatever you want to do.
Okay. The other new tool aircraft is the F-35B, which is in the starter set range. So is this following the like the Spitfire starter set ethos of like the clip-in canopy and things like that, which I think is one of the best things that's been designed in Airfix. Paramjit should have clicked in the first time it clicked in, just put it down on the desk and say, right, that's it. I'm having the rest of the day off. That works. That's brilliant. Is it one of that sort of design philosophy that's gone into that F-35?
Yeah, absolutely. So F-35 is designed to be a starter set first and foremost. It's not a classic kit that we've tried to convert. And actually, the Spitfire Mark V starter set, we designed the classic kit at the same time. We've not done that with the F-35, so we have only designed the F-35 starter set. That's it. There is no classic kit in the plan. It is a simplified kit. But F-35s in their natural stealth appearance, if you like, is quite a simplified shape. If I can say that. I'm sure Paramjit, the designer of that, will mostly want to give me a kick for saying that, but it's quite simple, isn't it? You tend not to have rockets and things hanging from the wings and stuff because it's stealth. So it does come with a shadow stand with a couple of options to mount it slightly differently. So yeah, I mean, if you've built the starter set Spitfire or Hawk, you will be very familiar with how the F-35 will go together, and they look amazing next to each other. That's an example where we do have, you've seen it in the range video, hopefully, where we do have built models from test shots.
Yeah.
So, and of course, we're pairing that up with the B3 Special Lancaster in the gift set. And we're putting a stand in with the Lancaster as well. So you'll have them both on stands. We haven't tooled up a shadow stand for the Lancaster. It's one of our more traditional stands, but you know, you can both put them both in flight if you like. One thing I would say though is we shouldn't forget the FR9 Meteor as the club kit.
Yeah, so, I was going to ask about that because, you know, as much as it's really fascinating to see what is in the range, of course, it's interesting to see what's not in the range. And I kind of expected the FR9 Meteor to be coming into the range, but at like winter 2023. So you get it in advance by being in the club. Is that actually going to be into the main range like in another year, or that's entirely just for the club?
So this year it's entirely for the club. You're not going to have an FR9 released for main range later in the year. What we do with next year, I haven't quite decided yet, but I might decide to rest it for a little while, just to try and help boost the club. And you know, if you want an FR9 and those really cool markings, or want to buy aftermarket decals, you've basically got to sign up to the club. What I would say there is that I think the Meteor kit retails around £24.
Exactly, yeah, and it's 30 quid to join the club.
30 quid to join the club, yeah. So and then you get all the benefits and everything else. So yes, okay, £6 more, but then you open up a world of flying hours and 10% discount online and everything else. So
yeah,
hopefully that £6 is then worth it, what it is. But I would say that.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to buy a Gannet and you know, some of these cars and all that, you're already well over 60 quid by the time you look at it, and there's your money back. Is it a conscious effort to try and increase the value of the kit that comes with the club? Is it a conscious thing that you look back and think, yeah, they were good. I mean, no, it's nothing wrong with the Hawk twin set. It's lovely, but a lot of people have got Hawks. There was nothing wrong with the Cape, but you know, they're new markings, but it's still a Cape. This is a kit that with actual hard differences, not just marking differences, but actual kit differences. The nose is different. That's only available through. Is that a conscious thing to add even more value to, especially that now that you've got the points, the Hornby rewards thing as well?
Yeah,
going through.
So what I would say is we've always wanted to release a club kit that has different parts that you've never been able to buy anywhere else, and it's more than just a decal scheme. When I was talking to Luke and Martin about that, they sort of then went, "Oh, well, we do have this."
Yeah, so the FR9 was already designed. So obviously, when we're talking about what kits to do, we plan the variants well ahead of time. So we never said, right, FR9, that will only ever be for club, and we'll design those parts for that, thinking, right, it will be exclusive. It was just designed as part of the normal cycle for kit development. And then it's when Dale started and we started talking about this range, because this was the first one you've had a sort of big stamp on. We decided FR9 is the thing that works the best, because obviously we could say, well, we'll do a 48th Hunter FGA 9, but obviously it has to be of a certain value. So that limits what you can do if you're bringing new hard differences, as you were saying. It's got obviously we've got to make some money. There's got to be a margin there. So you've got to go small enough that you're not going to sort of eat into it. But as well as the hard differences, obviously club kit gives you the chance to do something a bit different with the decals, and that you see that with the Ecuadorian scheme.
Yeah.
But we are always trying to add value to the club. Always. It's very difficult to do given the pretty much non-existent margin with the club. So, which is frustrating. I could increase the cost of the club, but I really don't want to. You know, so I'd with the club, I'd much rather keep that entry cost as low as possible.
Yeah.
Cram as much in it as I can. This year it's one kit, 2 decal options, but you know, that's what it is. You get the flight tag, you get a little new pin badge and bits and pieces. And then we can look at some separate exclusive products, not kits, but just separate things. So So yeah, so that's what I try to do. Instead of having the Airfix Club at a minimum cost of £50, for example, well, then all of a sudden we can start using more of our tool bank. I just don't want to do it because I think that will just really kill some numbers. So keep it to £30 or as near to it, and work it from there. That's not to say it won't go up again. I don't plan for it to go up this year. But you never know. If Royal Mail start to really increase their prices again, then I've got to look at it. I can't make a loss on anything.
Sure. No, it's good, and if it brings people in and encourages people to buy more stuff because you get a discount, and they don't make as much margin on a discounted product, but it all helps, and maybe pick up other things during the year as well. But to give that level of exclusivity, that feeling of exclusivity, it's got to be a good thing, I would have thought. And I know a lot of people. I've already ordered mine. I've already renewed my membership. As soon as I got the thing saying this kit is now available since I saw it at Telford, as soon as that email comes, I'm renewing it. I don't know what the actual date of my renewal is, but I don't care. I want one of those. So that's a big draw. I know a lot of people are finding that a major draw to either going back to the club because they used to be a member and thinking, oh, what do I get from it? But now thinking, oh, do you know what? That's cool. It's almost a new toolkit as well. It's not like it's a kit that's been around 10 years and you're doing yet another boxing of it. It was released last year.
Yeah,
and now you've got a special new nose for it. So that's really cool. With the other new tools, the starter sets that you've got 4 cars, 2 hypercars and 2 classics and you've got your 2 quick builds. Quick builds, the bus and the cab. That's you should be thinking, if we can crack a tourist market in London with this, that's happy days. Surely you'll be selling those as many as you can make.
That's certainly the aim. With venturing into a new category of products for quick build, but equally they don't look out of place when you put them next to our current a range of cars in quick build, and that was really important for us to find something that was slightly different. A bonus that we can go after the tourist market, or icon market, should I say. It doesn't look out of place if people are collecting quick build. It's fine. And what I will say is actually there's 3 new tools for quick build for us this year. There's obviously the bus, the taxi, but there's also the McLaren Speedtail. That's the brand.
That's right. I noticed that on the site this morning when I was going through the site. Hang about. I don't remember him mentioning that last night, and I noticed it.
You have to watch it again.
Yeah. The edited version. Yeah. With the bus as well, of course, I guess that means you've got a lot of opportunity for selling them as sponsored products or gift products for companies to have their advertising things, launches of film launches or something like that. You can have the branding on the side of the bus. You've got all those sort of possibilities as well, which have got to be good for the business.
Yeah, there's tons. We still have to work very closely with the license. Those products are licensed products, so we can't just go and do whatever we want to. Sure. But yes, absolutely. It's great to have a range of products, not just those 2 products, but a range of items in the range that we can talk to film producers about and marketing people and mold them in different colours if we need to, and help us expand the product, expand the Airfix name into other markets.
Yeah, cool. With the starter set cars, got 2 hypercars. I must admit they don't mean much to me, but I stopped watching Top Gear a little while ago. They look very beautiful, that's for sure. And 2 absolute classics, the Series 1 Land Rover and of course the Aston DB5, which is obviously everyone knows the most beautiful thing that's ever been produced in 4 wheels. It's obviously also very attractive because of its connection with a film franchise that we won't mention at the moment. There's just the 1 aircraft. There's no armour in starter sets this year. Did you find that the cars you did last year, the Bugatti, the Huayra, the Pagani thing, and of course the E-Type, did they really encourage you that think that this is a market that is really responding to this type of car, this starter set and at that scale and that price point?
So the range, so our starter set range works on a 5-year plan. So when you saw those cars this time last year, we had already planned to do what you've just seen yesterday, regardless, I guess, of how the market responded to those products last year. So that was already in the plan. We are seeing certain retailers not want to take too much military for various reasons, and that's fine. But if you look at the percentage of our range, military versus civil, it's not quite 50-50. So we try and make a conscious effort as well to try and do some civilian stuff, just to open up some doors for us. The market has responded really well to the products released last year. We've still got a lot of work, and I actually believe that a lot of modelers have dismissed the starter set cars that we launched last year because they've got the label starter set, and they tell themselves, well, I'm not a starter, so why would I touch that? But they are such an enjoyable build. They average around 30 parts. Such an enjoyable build, and we've seen some amazing paint jobs on them. To get a metallic finish on anything is really difficult. So they are real mojo lifters as well. We was talking about that the other day, and so adding to that really helps. We now have 3 classics and 3 modern. So Aston, Jag, and Land Rover as our classics, and then we've got those 4 modern cars sat there. I forget what there is, but so that's nice. It's a little bit more rounded as a range of products now. Hence why, as the 5-year plan, it was always our aim to do that. The F35, of course, sits really nicely with the Spitfire. Hence why we've been able to add it to a then and now gift set, a different price point. The Dam Busters opportunity, you couldn't let that go. And Airfix, of course, has a history of Dam Buster anniversary products. Usually Lancaster with the Tornado, and our Tornado tool is seen better days. So when I started to look at gift sets last year, it was a case of 80th anniversary. We've got this beautiful new to F35 starter set over here. Yeah, that's going to lend itself really well with the Lancaster, both are flying by 617 Squadron past. So yes, Pat, you could look at it and go, well, they're really getting a lot out of that F35 tooling, but it's just lent itself really nicely to that.
Well, it's also good because it means I don't have to buy a Dam Busters Lancaster, because I've got one sitting in the other room. So I can make that like a month or so before the May anniversary. And so the video's up there ready for when these guys are buying this from you. So thanks for that. That's brilliant. Excellent. And that works very well for both of us. If I just talk about the whole concept of gift sets and the starter sets. The big thing everyone says to me about the gift sets is that the paint is difficult sometimes. It's dry. It's not great. I made the actually here it is, the little gnat over Christmas. In fact, it went up today. The video of this, if you haven't seen it, it's the one from the Lidl offer over Christmas. It's the gnat. It's a lovely airplane. It's cute. It's sort of sweats and all that. It was a lovely kit. Apart from 2 things. Firstly, the fit of the engine intakes are terrible, frankly, and yellow paint without primer. That's 6 coats, and I'm not happy with that. Now, in the starter sets, is it not better to make sure that the paints that go into sets, which appear to be aimed at people who are starting, it's coming with glue, brushes, and paint, shouldn't you maybe be chatting with Humber and saying, guys, can you not give us something a bit better than this, please? And sample it, give them to them, say, look, that you can't use that.
So what I would say is that the 3mm pots of paint in our starter sets and gift sets are Gen 2
Right.
Umbral
Okay.
acrylic paint. So there isn't a difference between the paint itself. So that's the first thing. The other thing I would say is that yellow is a really difficult paint.
Oh, that's shockingly difficult colour. Yeah.
And it doesn't matter whose yellow paint you buy, it will be the thinnest paint in your range. So, you know, maybe the yellow nat is not the best product to put in, not just because it's a nat, but because it's yellow. But what other option do we have? We could put a red one in, but then I've got to pay royalties elsewhere, and therefore, you know, whatever margin I make on that to those retailers is pretty much goes down to zero. So there has to be a compromise there really, and I guess, you know, putting a yellow nat out was that compromise.
Right.
What you have got in the same range is 2 new tool 72nd scale starter set tanks.
Yeah.
From only the other year, and you know, non-yellow paint, which will apply perfectly.
And the zero kit's in there, which is a lovely 1/72 kit.
Personally, I would always say prime your models, but you know, it's not always practical.
I'd say from a development point of view, developing these new starter sets as well. So that the nat's a bit of an older tooling, hence maybe the fit issues you were speaking about, but also the paint schemes were selected a long time ago. But when it comes to this dedicated starter set range, we've made a real effort to pick paint schemes that are easier for the beginner. I can say that because I've been picking some quite recently for the stuff. So, you know, we are aware of the skill level that we're pitching this at, and, you know, trying to avoid anything that's difficult in terms of masking, let's say. You don't want to have to mask up, I don't know, a bit like the Meteor F8 with the diagonal blue split that you have. A beginner's going to struggle. Things like that, mottle, camouflage, they're going to really struggle. So we're aware of it when we're picking. And obviously paint colours. Yellow is well known for being bad. It's a prime example there, really. So we try not to include it on any of the new ones.
Yeah, I was within about 2 minutes of sanding it down a little bit, spraying it white, spraying it yellow, and say, and after 6 coats, this is what you get. But I thought, I can't do that. I honestly can't do that. Because I try and build with gift sets and starter sets. I do try and use what you guys supply. Generally, you know, the paint's 50-50 in the ones I've used so far. As you say, the new starter sets, they seem to be great. The glue, the 1970s glue thing, please run out of those and make some and sell the little ones. I was about to say like Revel do, but don't go the whole hog because the brushes you get in Revel starter sets are absolute rubbish. And that number 2 Humbrol, I use them all the time. You know, I get some of these. I'll just take all the brushes up, put them in my brush stand because they're lovely. They're really, really nice brushes. Now, after all of these new tools and new wonderful things, you've also got the year 2, year 3 releases coming through. The Hunter, but some of them we knew they were going to come because you see in the box that the extra bits that you don't need for that one. So the Hunter F6 has got most of the FJ9. It's got the parachute thing. It hasn't got the big wing tanks and stuff. So you can kind of see where developments are going with the Vampire, with all these things. The box art on the Hunter, Adam, I mean, top man, what a great choice of art and what a great thing to celebrate. Like the Pollock's trip through the what's they called, Pool of London Air Show, I think they refer to it as.
Well, when we were picking, when I was picking schemes for the Hunter, we were sort of limited to what we could do. So because we knew we were going to do an FGA 9, FR10, and GA11, sort of wanted to do a scheme for each. And without going to 6 schemes, which isn't possible, you're not going to do multiple. So we had to be quite selective, and it came to doing FGA 9, and it was right. We'll do Tower Bridge. It's the most obvious one. And, you know, the only visual record of that event is Mike Rondo's painting from a couple decades ago now. I was lucky enough because I briefed the artwork to Adam. I said, look, this is what we want it to do. But we've got no photos. You've only got the accounts from Alan Pollock and obviously people on the ground. Lucky enough to speak to Alan.
Excellent.
Who's obviously slightly advanced now, but he recalled it with quite a bit of vigour. The biggest bugbear was trying to work out what tanks it was carrying at the time. He was convinced when I asked him that it was only the smaller tanks and not the 230s inboard. But Mike Rondo's painting said, as I say, the only visual record showed sort of the full FGA 9 fuel tank loadout. So we went with the grain, but eventually Mike produced a letter from Alan back in the 70s, so when his memory was a bit fresher, saying that he had the 4 tanks. But there's a great little side story with that artwork, whereby Alan's pass knocked a guy off his bike and he ripped his trousers. And Alan found out about that and offered to pay the man to get a replacement, but he turned him down and said, no, it's fine.
Excellent.
So a lovely little side thing. And he's always said that he never planned to go through Tower Bridge. It just happened. His main thing was to protest, obviously, the lack of celebration of the 50th anniversary of the RAF. So he did 3 passes over the Houses of Parliament. And the great story from that is, obviously, they were very shocked, but I think it was Ian Duncan Smith. His father was holding a debate on noise abatement coming from aircraft at the time.
Great timing.
Yeah,
I think he said he wanted to fly past the RAF memorial to dip his wing to that in salute. And then by the time he'd done that and sorted himself out, he thought, well, over or under? Go under. Just carried on underneath the bridge, which is superb. And it's just a beautiful story and a great piece of box artwork as well. Though you did mention in the video you were correcting some things in the base kit or something. What had been picked up in the base kit? If you're allowed to say.
So in the base kit, it was. So I'm trying to remember now. We're building test shots upstairs as we speak. But the FR10 nose, so a piece that hadn't been released, we needed to tweak the position of the windows. So that's one thing. But in the actual FGA, the 6, what did we correct? It was the position of the outboard pylons. So they needed to come inboard from what I remember. The height of the inboard pylons needed to be increased. We needed to add an extra nose undercarriage leg, as in the link that connects the door to the leg, I should say, because there was only one in the kit, which is definitely a bit of an oversight. And the outboard pylon ejector fairing. So there's you see on Hunters, there's 2 little lumps on the top wing over the outboard pylon, and the base kit didn't have that in. So there's a few corrections there. I might be missing 1 or 2, but from memory, that's what we corrected.
Cool.
And we've got to thank the Singaporean Air Force.
Yeah, that was a random.
It was the chief engineer of the Royal Singapore Air Force got in contact to tell us what we had got wrong and sent us lots of measurements. So it was very helpful.
A very detailed Word document. He also sent us a book, didn't he?
Yeah, Tip of the Spear, a very good book.
There you are.
Documenting the Air Force's history. So yeah, it's very, very interesting. And if you ever got a suggestion for Airfix, we expect a lot of detail. So tick the box.
So finally, for the moment on these releases, the vintage classics. Dale, I am so glad you listened to me about that Rotodyne, my friend. The first time I met you, I said, you've got to release that. As soon as I saw the mould in the store in Margate, mate, you have to have that back in.
So essentially, look after the bits of kit in your box, first of all. Yep. Don't let the carpet monster eat them. But if it's a recent one, there's a very, very good chance you'll already have one. But if you've got a Fairy Rotodyne, for example, I'm sure if you give them enough money, they might even just print you one from that, but who knows?
Thank you. Thank you for that, at least.
No.
That's brilliant.
No, everyone's got you to thank for that one, Gary. You might regret that when we release it. No. Well, actually, when you came down with some other YouTubers and creators, all those tools that you saw on pallets on the floor were elsewhere in the factory,
Right.
in the warehouse. And that morning, I had to get them all moved back into all that racking because it would have been very obvious what vintage classic kits we were planning to release. So they were all getting ready to be shipped.
Right.
So yeah, that morning it was like, oh, get the forklift, push them all back into there. So thankfully, you guys never picked that up. So yeah, it was already planned. I mean, we will have the 24-25 range planned fully in the next 2 months. So that'll be put to bed then.
I guess because you also need to test shop the tooling and do any repairs to the tools that may need tweaks to do and things like that, and get the decals printed and all the rest of it.
Vintage classics, yes. But in terms of full range, next year's range will be fully complete in two months' time.
We've been pretty on it with vintage classics as well. We've done something differently, whereas so previous years it was, what are we going to do next year? Send that tooling out. We sort of sat down as a team and selected a whole load of tooling that we identified as potentials for the next 5 to 10 years, and sent it all out to India, so that if we want to do it, it's a lot easier to just hit the button and get that test shot done. So we're a bit more prepared, aren't we now? So that's good.
Yeah. Space in the container, Philip. It's the ethos.
Also on the on two of them, I think it was the Oster and on the Bond Bug, you've re-engineered the transparent parts as well. So that's obviously there's quite a lot of investment for a kit that is coming in at not a very high price point, because you're thinking, this is a 30, 40-year-old kit. You can't charge too much for it, but you want it to be good enough. The rest of the tooling is great, but the transparency is not quite up to modern standards or whatever, and you're re-engineering. That's quite an investment. And then paying for the decals, and that's not a cheap component at all of the thing. That's quite a lot of investment to bring back the Oster Antarctic, beautiful thing. Were there that many of them as well?
No, there were two converted for the initial expedition, from what I remember. One of them crashed, but it's not about how many were built when it comes to vintage classics. It's about the memories attached, isn't it? So,
sure.
And from the development side, when we come to redevelop parts of the tool, it's not because parts of the tooling is shot. If the whole thing's shot, we won't redevelop it because there's not enough money in it for us, and it's not a vintage classic at that point. But in these cases, the tool was actually lost; it disappeared. These are very small inserts that go into a bigger tool, so they can get misplaced quite easily. There's definitely a bit of a romantic view from the development side. How you're faced with the prospect of this never being released again because something's been lost. So from our side, we're like, we want to do it. Obviously, Dale holds the purse strings a bit, so we can't do it for everything. As you say, it's an investment. But in terms of the Antarctic, it's one of our oldest toolings that's still going. And the Bond Bug, was only ever released twice. The base tooling, the non-clear part, is phenomenal. It's really, really amazing for something that was tooled so long ago. And obviously at release, with the designer unfortunately passing away on New Year's Eve, the guy who designed the real thing, the one-to-one Bond Bug, unfortunately passed. So it's a unplanned tribute, I suppose, in some ways.
There's been a lot of people emailing us since yesterday afternoon about I think we've had the chairman of the Bond Bug group. Forgive me if you're watching this video, but he's contacted us. We've had loads of people, patrons of that, have contacted us as well. So hopefully we should do some good numbers on that. And there aren't many vintage classic tools that haven't been released since the 70s now. When we found out that we actually did have the tooling, because it's one of those things that have been asked for so long, because it was last released in 1975. When we found the base kit, it was a case of, okay, look, we just need to get the clear parts sorted and release this. We can't miss this opportunity.
I think there's going to be a lot of people that see it and go, oh, I remember that now. That maybe they haven't thought about it, but then just see, oh God, yeah, I remember that.
Yeah,
it's brilliant.
So the Beagle Basset release last year also had clear parts.
Yeah.
I've got a feeling Matt did something else before that as well.
Yeah, so I believe it was the Bulldog and then the Italian one, I can't remember. But so we've done small windscreens before, but the Beagle Basset was the first time we've done sort of large transparencies. And that's where we really had to reverse engineer. So we had to 3D scan the original parts and then work back from that. And luckily, with the advent of rapid prototyping, we've got a 3D printer in house. You can quickly alter. You can do your initial design, tweak bits, print it off, and check again. So you don't have to send it off to India, get the tool made, and then realise they don't fit. So it's a lovely little side job for these designers because they work 6 months on one project, sometimes more. And to have a little couple weeks of designing these transparencies they love it. It's a really different challenge for them as well.
So whoever's working on your Halifax, for example, he gets a little bit of time off to do a little bit of window work.
He's finished it.
Of you to do that.
Yeah. He's finished the Halifax. He's on the Lincoln now.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be honest, you must get it all the time. That's on the channel. I get it all the time as well. Halifax, which I personally believe you should do anyway before Italeri do it. Ferry battle retooling and things like that. That whole sort of Battle of France thing. It's when you can see there's a theme has been going on, like twin engine British bombers, like that Beaufort kit. What a beautiful thing that is. And then you start noticing the gaps a lot more. So you start thinking, come on, you've got to be doing that now. You've got to be working on that now. You've got to be, just please tell me that you are at least thinking about some of these things, and you're not just now. If you make too much noise, not going to bother with it anymore.
I'll tell you, Gary, I think about a lot of subjects. Doesn't mean they get made. Sorry to say, we're constantly across all the different subjects thinking, will this fit? Will this fit? There's loads of gaps out there. We might plug it, might not. You just have to wait and see in the next 10 years.
Yeah.
I got an email this morning from a very well-known aircraft manufacturer saying, do you want to do this? And it's a case of, oh my God, we've received an email from them. And he said, I can give you CAD, I can give you original CAD and everything else. And you sort of like,
wow,
this is, yes, please, but
I didn't know they designed Spitfires on CAD.
Yeah.
Also gives $500,000.
He said where they're based. We would have completely given that away as well. So, all of a sudden, it's right. Okay, what have we got in the pipe? Is this worth it? Am I getting too excited about it? And ultimately, I'm told to calm down a little bit. So, we're very good with each other like that, aren't we? We sort of get excited, and then we have to sort of calm each other down.
You have to put your sensible hat on sometimes.
Yeah. Do you have like these really sort of geeky arguments at meetings where it comes down to, okay, we can afford to do that, and we can afford to do that. Which one are we going to do? And then, oh well, this served with more squadrons. Yes, but this served in more.
The one where that really comes
on this.
The one where that really comes about is that when we're deciding the next 24th kit, quite often you're not fighting over what subject you need to do. When it's 72nd, 48th, and other scales, because you'll get round to it eventually. And we've got 5 designers, so you can find a space. So no one's going, no, we need to do this immediately. But the 24th, obviously, the chance to do that is so rare. It's every 4 years almost. There is a lot more super kit. Or super kit. It doesn't have to be 24th. There's only a small time, and you're making your mark on history because everyone can name the super kits that have been before, and you're deciding the next in that chain, and that's when it becomes a bit of a nerdy argument sometimes.
Just quickly on the 124th thing, you've got the 124th Junkers 87 coming back, which is fantastic, in an uncensored box.
So that's bombs, not swastika.
Okay. Right.
I saw someone make a comment on that saying, really pleased they're putting that back on their boxes. We're not.
Yeah.
We've not changed our approach with that on box fronts or decal.
Could you just, a lot of people really don't understand this issue. Could you just briefly outline why Airfix don't include the swastika on box art and in the kits?
So it's a banned symbol in Germany and a number of other countries, not in the UK, but it is a banned symbol. And that means you can't sell a product with it on into those countries. Let's just take Germany for an example. Kit sales into Germany are quite good. So, but not good enough for Germany to have its own range of products without a swastika. So we just take that decision that we just don't put the swastika in the kit. That's it. End of. If you really want to put a swastika on an aircraft, there are aftermarket sheets of multiple scales. It's not one sheet per aircraft, is it? You just get loads of them. So you can achieve it, but that's it.
Also, I forgot to mention you got 2 new vehicles this year as well, the Ferret and the 1300 weight truck as well. Are those like Academy produced things that you've designed, like with the Katie?
So the Ferret is all in house.
Oh right.
And when I say that, I'm not out in the factory making the tool. But as with other products, Ethan upstairs has designed it, and it will go out to our normal tooling in China and then to India. So that's in house. But the truck is yes, very much the same, because
that's
a Academy designed shed resource. And we've said before, not necessarily on a video like this, but just because it's Academy, that doesn't really mean anything. It's the fact that we've just outsourced some design to be able to bring at least one more product to you, the consumer, every year. So by doing that, you can scale up design resource a little bit easier. The last thing we ever want to do is bring another 2 designers into the business just for a year or 2, and then have that very awkward conversation with them when they've got no work to do. So, one way around that is by using an external resource, and that happens to be Academy.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you both. I'm conscious that we're running out of time now. Thank you both very, very much for your time. I don't know if you saw the awards video, but congratulations on winning Kit of the Year this year from me for the Anson, because that's an absolute blinder, an absolute beautiful kit. If the Gannett's anything like that sort of quality, you're going to be top 5 again, I'm sure.
Good.
Thank you very, very much for your time.
The Mystic mug, how did it fare?
Not very well. Not very well, because you don't listen that much to me. You say you didn't listen to me about the Rosardine. You listened to Mystic Mug. She said it needed to be back in, but no, not very well, I'm afraid. I'm going to have to give her some stronger coffee next year. And see what we can do from there.
I forgot about that.
The CapEx 2 and 3 stuff is fairly easy, I guess, but the rest of what you've got planned, my God.
I've only just got that memory out of my head of you doing that, but. But I've just said to you though, haven't I, that 2023, 24-25 range will be planned in the next 2 months. So any Mystic stuff after that, it's over, done. Unless you just happen to be really lucky. So
well, frankly, it's pure guesswork anyway. Slightly educated guesswork, thanks to your insights. I thought there was some earlier on.
I thought it had powers.
I thought there was mystic powers in all of that, Gary.
Yeah, I not more caffeine. That's what it needs, more caffeine. I need to put more caffeine into this process.
Well, you will be.
The mug will talk to me about it.
You will be. You'll be very happy with one of our future releases, but I'll leave it there. Okay. I don't want to give too much away, but I'll leave it there.
You don't want to give anything away, Dale, don't you?
You haven't got to wait long. You haven't got to wait long.
Guys, I really do appreciate your time, especially at such a busy time of year. Thank you very, very much again. As always, look forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks for having us, Gary.
Cheers, Gary.
Okay, cheers.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
So there we have it. Maybe we won't have to wait for that Halifax for too much longer. I hope you've enjoyed the show today. If you have, please remember, imperial thumbs up on the like button below. And if you haven't done so yet, please subscribe to the channel. Do hit that bell and you'll get notifications of all the new videos as they are released. In any case, thanks very much for watching. I'll catch you next time.